Welcome to the Expanded Podcast with your host, Lacy Phillips. As a leading manifestation advisor with a process that's, radically different from the old New Age model, mine is rooted in psychology, neuroscience, and my energetic gifts. Therefore, I created this podcast to help you expand your subconscious limiting beliefs about the potential of deserving the manifestations you're calling in. In each episode, we'll walk through my expanders, a term in my manifestation formula signaling the people that already embody, have, or are successful in what we are looking to call in. These are the people that we witness through our mirror neurons on a subconscious level that expand us into knowing that our manifestations are possible as well. Especially when we hear about their background, their upbringing, their trials and tribulations, and any of their pitfalls that they had to experience along the way. Therefore, you're tuning into this podcast series to show your subconscious that anything you desire is possible. And by pressing play, you've already started the process of manifesting it. If you enjoy this episode, please leave us a review, comment, and share it with your fellow manifestor that's struggling or could really benefit from the information that you're about to learn. Welcome to November. We're totally in the swing of fall now, unless you're in the Southern Hemisphere, then of course you are enjoying spring. So the theme of this month is triggers. We just kicked off the Daily Reprogramming Challenge last Wednesday. We had put out on Instagram to see if anybody wanted to be part of a 30-day daily reprogramming challenge. And it was such a resounding yes that we kicked it off. It's totally free to head to the Facebook group, which you can find on the front page of the blog, freeandnative.com, and join. So triggers, why is that important and why are we focusing on it this month? Number one, everything in manifestation we're doing in November and December is to really truly prepare for 2019, right? So I think during the holidays is such an awesome time to look at our triggers because we're rubbed up against all sorts of stuff. We're rubbed up against commercial holiday projection at us. We're rubbed up against family and how they trigger us. We're rubbed up against stress beginning to feel the new year impending. So why are triggers so important? If you are super new to manifestation, or even if you have been in this process for a while, my particular process, it's really important to talk about where we manifest from. We do not manifest from our thoughts. We do not manifest from think positive and visualize. Where we're actually manifesting from is our subconscious belief structure that was imprinted to us when we were a child. So from 0 to 25, child, teenage, adolescent. Everything we're manifesting in our life right now, where we have high self-worth in our subconscious, so things that were being reflected back to us where we were worthy and good and deserving, we're manifesting those with ease. Anywhere where we experience pain or shame or labels or rejection, those are all our blocks. That's what's preventing us from literally manifesting. So why this month is going to be so exciting is because we're doing it in group together, right? So what constitutes a trigger? Everything. Everything in life that doesn't feel good doesn't flow with ease. So triggers are anything that stresses us, anything that causes us pain, anything that makes us feel angry, rejected, jealous, envy, not good enough, anything that makes us feel small. Fears are triggers. So triggers are so important to be working on daily in manifestation because they're literally our roadmap down to our subconscious to go, hey, oh my gosh, that's why we aren't manifesting. So that's why I created the daily reprogramming exercise. Anybody who does this work knows that it's based in psychology and neuroscience teachings. So that means that I have people go down into their subconscious through hypnosis and other exercises to literally create kind of brain surgery in order to create new neural pathways that basically make all of those old loops that are no longer serving us and literally blocking our manifestations to die off and create new loops and neural pathways to connect that project our worthiness. Therefore, it's one of the components of manifestation that helps us manifest. The other two are obviously expanding. And the third is following the Formula and Magnetism workshop. So this whole month, all over the blog, we're going to be basically throwing at you guys all of these cool different ways you can look at your triggers, all the different layers of triggers, energetic triggers, and I'll also be doing that on Instagram as well. So making sure that you're tuning into the Monday and Wednesday posts. Always tune into Tuesday because that's where we share what the community is manifesting, and that helps us expand into what's possible for us. And then in the Facebook group is where you can also find all of this trigger information. So we're literally loading it up so that you can get prepared and deal with anything coming at you this month and next month. This is the only month we'll be doing the challenge though. So make sure that you go in and join and hop on and look at your triggers. And because this month is really important to prepare for 2019, and we have a really, really, really exciting top secret workshop that's coming out next month, which I'm not going to start talking about yet. But I know a lot of you guys in the survey haven't done the Formula and Magnetism workshop, which is a big component as to why people aren't manifesting. I can even see people in the Facebook group being like, guys, do you think we need to start with that? And some people are like, I don't know. And then others are like, yeah, I refer to it all the time. Yes, you do. You don't have to start with it, but if you're not manifesting, you do have to do it. And yes, if you listen to me on podcasts all over the other places, you will hear a lot of components of it, but you won't hear things like micro, which is so important to manifesting, a lot of other components, as well as seeing it all together and something you can go back to and revisit over and over and over again. And in today's podcast episode, you'll discover why it's so important. So we're offering everybody, because a few people were like, can you set up a payment plan for it? And it's just too tricky with our system to do that. So what we're going to do is what I do every year. I offer the community one gift at the end of the year to prepare for 2019, and as a big thanks for being a part of this community and gratitude to you. And so what we'll be doing for all of November and December is we're offering the code UPGRADE. So that's capital UPGRADE for those of you who are getting ready to call in your 2019 intentions and could use a break. That'll bring it down to $195. And the beauty is that during this month, why I did this early instead of just for December is because you automatically get the daily reprogramming exercise in it. And then it also explains the other component to manifestation, well, all the components, but the other really important one, which is expanding. So literally inside of that workshop, you have everything you need to essentially manifest. Today's guest, Beth Behrs, is such a shining light. She's so magnificent and beautiful. And many of you probably first discovered her, like I did, in the hit show, Two Broke Girls, which was truly one of the most expansive shows for me when I was such a poor, struggling actress working at the Laugh Factory on Sunset, and going in and tuning into this world of medicine, which is humor. That's literally these, following these women's dreams. They're broke actresses, and it was just so therapeutic. So if you haven't checked out that show, you'll absolutely love it. And most importantly, her new show she is on, The Neighborhood, is a very important show of our time right now. And it's really addressing some important topics through, again, the medicine of humor. It's all about connection. It's all about getting to the root of your community. It's all about oneness. I think you guys would really enjoy it, and I really encourage you to watch it. I got to watch the pilot, and when this comes out, I'll have watched a few episodes, but tonight I get to tune into the second episode. So go check that out. Most importantly, you're going to hear about her organization that she started for rape survivors, for abuse survivors. It is so beautiful and so important. I don't want to blow it in the intro because we really go into it in the episode. And all around, she's a total unblocker. She does all of the same manifestation work as you. She manifested this new show, and she also hosts her own manifestation village. So if this girl who is so busy doing press and filming a show can host a village, I really, really encourage you guys to start it in your town, the closest town to you, because it is so beautiful, and I can't wait to go pop in on hers. So sit back and get ready for all of the artists out there to be expanded. Hi, guys. Welcome to the Expanded Podcast. Today, we have Beth Behrs, like a teddy bear. And we're so excited to get into this. My introduction to you was when your show, Two Broke Girls, came out. I was cocktailing at the Laugh Factory on Sunset.
I know.
So
crazy.
broke, an actress, and you know who would always come through was Whitney, and she was amazing, brilliant, like such an expander. So I was like, I'm going to support her and watch this show. But when I did, your guys' show was such therapy for like all the fucking broke
waitresses and actresses.
Yes,
I know.
So it was such medicine that was my first introduction to you.
Crazy.
But even more importantly, I mean, we're going to get into all the things you do, but in this episode, we also really want to talk about your foundation, SheHerdPower.
Yes.
We're going to get into that. You also have a book, which is worth mentioning because it's in the wellness space, which is called The Me Talks.
Total Me Talks.
The Total Me Talks. So let's first get in and dive and dig all around how you are going to be such a great expander for so many people. So thank you for being here.
Thank you. I was saying to Lacy, I am more nervous about this interview than I've ever been for an interview because I love Lacy so much and I love all of you girls and I love your site and your work has helped me so much. I think, did it launch in like just January of this year?
No. So the site itself, I started, I think on 2013.
Wow. But the Formula and I started, I know you launched Formula, like I was like on it. I was waiting for you to launch it.
Yep.
And that's, and it's been so transformative.
Yeah, we launched that last December. Amanda produced that. And
it's not that long ago, but it feels like it's hit everybody. You know?
Yeah. Oh, I'm so thankful too, because I do have so many people coming up now and being like, oh my God, I'm doing this and that. And I'm like, my job's working.
It's working.
So thank you for sharing
Thank you.
And I have to hear... Well, first I want to go into childhood and then we'll get into all this stuff. But give us your cultural background, your upbringing. First, worth mentioning, she's a Capricorn and a generator for anyone tuning in. We think a generator.
We think. Don't know we lost my birth certificate, so we're not sure my exact birth time.
Potentially.
But I plugged in all the potential my mom thinks it could be, and they're all generator, and I definitely identify as a generator.
It makes sense to me.
Definitely. I grew up Irish Catholic and very amazingly supportive childhood. I'm one of those weirdo kids who knew, I don't even remember knowing, my parents told me, knew I wanted to be an actress from 3 years old. I was acting out The Sound of Music up and down the stairs.
Wow. I know most actors I do know from young, they knew. Yeah. It's like they came through to do this.
And it's interesting because at that moment, and what a lot of your work has helped me do is it's so pure and authentic and just part of you. You don't have to try. It's something. And then when your passion becomes your vocation, there's a lot, it challenges just what you innately, that drive. And so your work has really helped me kind of work through that. But
because it gets political and there's obstacles and you have to be things you don't want to be.
And when it becomes something that is how you keep the lights on at your house, as opposed to just this amazing thing I do with all my nerdy theater friends and it's just fun and because we love it is definitely, it's definitely been a process for me. But I was born in Pennsylvania, but I moved around a lot. We lived in Maine, and then I moved to Northern Virginia, and then I moved to Southern Virginia, and I went to my first first year of high school in Lynchburg, Virginia. Then I moved to Marin County in the Bay Area. So I went from Southern Virginia to hippie dippy. My first day of school, everybody was in pajama pants. I had on pearls and a skirt, long skirt,
you were
and
so
Southern.
Oh my God.
And then there was an anti-Iraq war protest, and I had come from the deep South. And
so
Marin, it took me 2 seconds to fit right in. I felt like I was home.
Yeah, you're like, thank you.
In my Birkenstocks and no makeup and
for anybody tuning in who will be listening to this too, we have to apologize that we are outside.
Yes.
And Echo Park is kind of I mean, you have helicopters, you have dogs, you have trucks going by, but you'll hear the message throughout. But we had to do it because of lighting. We wanted to keep the lighting natural. So,
and it's so beautiful out here, even with the dogs and
the sort of rain. It's like we're in a rom-com at the like lowest moment.
Yes,
we're falling back in love.
You just put us in a rom-com.
Yeah.
Yes.
So continue.
So I went to my last 3 years of high school in Marin, and then I went to UCLA for theater school.
Cool.
Was a theater major for the first few years. Then actually decided that my best friend and I decided we wanted to make a documentary about, we were volunteering at the time at a home in Van Nuys for child prostitution called Children of the Night.
Wow.
And we really wanted to make a documentary. So I ended up not graduating with an acting degree. I actually graduated with a BA in theater, film, and television with producing as an emphasis.
So cool.
But then Showtime came out with an amazing documentary called Very Young Girls,
which was
literally the exact same thing we wanted to do, which is a very powerful documentary. But yeah, so it was weird because I was drawn to the kind of female sexual assault trauma work before it actually happened to a member of my family. And it's just interesting how I was thinking about that recently, like, I was drawn to helping these women a long time, even before it happened in a personal way.
I also wonder, I mean, I'm so, you heard me, I'm like so out there, but I'm like, I wonder how many lifetimes that's been a part of your work.
Or how much in like family history with like, I've heard like rumblings, like was there anything in like my like great grandparents past or grandparents, like there has to be maybe.
Has to be.
Yeah.
I
100%.
Which is so traumatic. When I was seeing clients, 99 like 0.5% of the time, any client of mine who had experienced any type of sexual abuse, their mother and grandmother had as well. Which is it goes to show like right now the paradigm's shifting, and it's awful that it's happened, but there's a really, really big moment to heal this and give space for people to heal this. So I want you to take the floor on that. Anything you want to say?
I mean, well, I had done this work at Children of the Night, which child prostitution in America is actually something we're still not talking about.
But
it's
unbelievable.
And unfortunately, a lot of the perpetrators are judges, policemen. They're the Johns. And so it's really not talked about or even, the way the Me Too movement and some of these movements going forward that have been so crazy incredible about finally empowering women to use their voices and come forward. We're still not even addressing some of the other...
or advocates who really don't have a voice
whatsoever. Exactly. Zero voice and can't get out. And there's so many... It's sometimes... I don't know if you feel this way, but sometimes it all feels so overwhelming. And I felt like that even when I was volunteering there, we'd think we'd make a connection with... I mean, there was a girl as young as 7 who wanted to be an animator. And you think you make this beautiful connection, and then the next week the pimp somehow had come and gotten them. And it's
complete manipulation. I mean, the worst.
It's the worst. And the organization Children of the Night, an incredible woman called Lacy started this organization basically out of her house. She started rescuing girls off the street and kept them in her house. And now she has this incredible program in Van Nuys. So check it out, please, and support if you can.
Absolutely.
But then in my own experience, I guess I should talk about how I had panic attacks. I'm not a sexual assault survivor, but when I got 2 Broke Girls and my whole life changed, and there was this intense level of pressure, and my body completely shut down. I was getting panic attacks. I got a skin virus for like 8 months that no doctor could tell me
total stress.
What was wrong. And finally, what's the doctor that does the acupuncture in the ear?
Is it a specific name?
Well, it's a kind of Eastern medicine, but I
don't know.
I'll have to. What is it? Auricular therapy.
Yes.
This is it.
Oh, I've never done it. You got to try that.
So I did auricular therapy, and he also told me basically that this is from deep-rooted immune system stress.
I knew it,
And diet, he had me change. I was like a mac and cheese gal. Still am, but, in moderation. And he was like, change your diet, and also this, you have to figure out a way to basically like deal with your stress. And I was 25, 26. I mean, it's very early on in 2 Broke Girls, but Whitney Cummings, a big expander and amazing woman for both of us, not only introduced me to transcendental meditation through the David Lynch Foundation, which I don't miss. I do twice a day.
Same.
It's amazing, especially with your work as well to do
Because you could drop right in after. It's the perfect.
Incredible.
It's like just add another 10 little minutes
yeah,
on and do a little brain surgery.
Perfect. I'm loving putting that on top. And then Whitney also said, you know, we had a horse on Two Broke Girls.
You did. I remember. It was awesome.
I wasn't a
in
kid.
Brooklyn.
Yeah,
like,
right?
In Brooklyn, yeah.
I know. In a Brooklyn apartment.
Yeah.
Very realistic. But every time the horse was on set, Kat Dennings and I would be we'd be like, God, we love when the horse is on. We're so relaxed. Yeah. He makes us feel so happy. And I grew up in Virginia, so my sister rode, and I loved horses. I loved being around them, but I hadn't ever really fully experienced all the benefits that that beautiful spiritual animal can give us until the show. And Whitney was like, I have this friend. She's an equine therapist up in Topanga Canyon, and you should really, like, you know, if you're having panic attacks, go work with her. Yeah. And I started working with Cassandra Ogier, who is my co-founder in SheHerdPower, which is my nonprofit equine therapy for sexual assault and abuse survivors. Female sexual assault and abuse survivors. And she said, go meet Cass. And I started working with her. And within like a few months, my panic attacks were almost completely non-existent.
Wow.
Between that and the transcendental meditation, I was shocked.
I mean, just that portion alone, people need to hear that is possible through literally not just like equestrian if you don't have access, but animal therapy.
Animal therapy. Also, I mean, even Puakai, is that the healer that? Oh my gosh, her
Maggie,
talk with you. Because I've been discovering how much animals in nature, not only as an artist, how they basically filling that space that you need with those things in order to be a better artist is something that I've been exploring through, thank God for you, and all of that work, because we don't realize how disconnected we are and how up here, down here we are.
It is crazy.
And there's no space for the art to come in, for healing to come in, for anything.
The creative feminine energy.
Exactly.
That's what it is, you know, that nurturing, connected space. I'm so glad you mentioned that healed. It literally recovered you from panic attacks.
Yes. I mean, it's like, you know, it's like everything. There's always maybe one a year or something that'll come out, but they're not to the extent that I had even as a teenager.
Wow.
I used to be super hypochondriac, you know, always think if I heard someone got cancer or something, I was like,
I have cancer. I have it. Yeah, I've been that too.
I remember like they took me to all these doctors because I kept thinking I had a heart problem because I'd be like, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. And finally one doctor, they did all these heart tests and all these blood tests. They're like, you're fine. One doctor was like, what are you thinking about when you have these? Are you thinking about anything? And I'm like, yeah, I'm thinking I'm dying of cancer or HIV or anything that is out in the world that I like, you know. Anyways, so that, and then also when like Two Broke Girls happened and my whole life changed, and then suddenly being thrust from like a 1-bedroom apartment working 7 million jobs and no money to like, I wore a Forever 21 dress. Yeah. I remember on my first red carpet, and I was like so proud, and it's very cute and it's awesome. And Whitney being like, "Oh, girl, all right, we're gonna we got a lot of work to do."
Yes, because she's a Virgo, I think.
I don't know what she is, but she's the best
Virgo cap
ever. But she even like I had no money. I was a broke girl. And for my final screen test, Michael Patrick King, who's created Sex and the City and iconic shows, he called me and he was like, do you own a pair of heels? And could you maybe dress like Upper East Side? And I was like, yes. And I went to Nordstrom and I kept all the tags on.
I used to do that all the time.
Everything. Yep. And he hugged me at our first table read and he was like, are there tags on your clothes? I was like, yes, there are. And he was like, you got the job. You can, you're good.
Love it.
You can cut off the tags.
You can keep them. You're going to make money.
Your clothes. I know. It was amazing.
Oh, I used to do that all the time.
I know,
I mean, with crazy shit too, for like red carpety stuff, I would do it. I mean, I would go out and buy like, I don't even know, Balenciaga. I was like, oh my God.
Oh, you did it real. I was like, Steve Madden, girl. Like, I was like, that's high-end for this
if
girl.
If this tag rips off, that's like 2 months in rent.
No, it's crazy. I stayed with a roommate. We were sharing a 1-bedroom, and I stayed living with her through the whole first season in a 1-bedroom because
you're in survival still. You're not sure.
And you're like, this could all go away tomorrow. We all know how the business is so crazy. But eventually someone was like, I think you can move to a 2-bedroom. Like, you're
you
good.
Got this.
You got this.
And it ran for what, 5 seasons?
6 seasons.
So that's
7 years altogether from the first audition, which is crazy.
And this was your first series regular?
First series regular, I had done like American Pie number 7.
Good job. Yes.
Yes, I did. And I didn't take my clothes off.
Good job. Did you have sex?
Oh yeah, I lost my virginity. I had the lose your virginity moment, which was awesome.
I mean, that's a pretty epic scream.
I'm proud of that movie. Y'all should watch it. It's called Book of Love. It's real good. But I did that, and then I had a couple guest stars on NCIS and Castle, and then it was really my first. I mean, I've been in theater. I studied theater my whole life, but it was my first Hollywood, actually paying the bills.
Oh, I'm so happy for you. I hope any artist out there listening.
It can happen, guys.
What would you say to the artist that's struggling, so poor right now, has had nothing but rejection? It's so important to hear this.
Yes. Oh, I have so many things to say. Well, one thing, when I read the script of Two Broke Girls, in my gut, I went, I have to play this character. I love this character. There's something about this character that is me. And I said to my now husband, he was my boyfriend at the time, I said, I just read the script. I'm going to go in for it. They're going to go with a name. It's Michael Patrick King and Whitney Cummings. There's no way I'm going to get this part. And he said, you know what? That's exactly what John Hamm said before he got Mad Men. My husband was on Mad Men for years. And I went, oh, well, if John can do it, I can do it. I also have to tell you a story.
Yes, tell it, please, because this is going to expand
I've been dying
anyone.
to tell you. I had a free and native girls group over my house the other week, and they were like, I know, you have to come. They were like, you have to tell Lacy this story. So I was an obsessive, manifest, The Secret. Right before Two Broke Girls, I became obsessed with, I thought, I'm going to follow this to a T.
Yeah.
And
I think any poor artist has been down that road, man. Yeah.
But do you guys remember a movie? There was a movie called Waiting with Ryan Reynolds. It was about waiters at a Chili's.
Kind of, yeah. And he has the love interest is, what's her name?
It's Anna Faris, I think.
Yes.
Or someone super funny.
Yeah, the blonde and funny.
Yes.
Could have been Anna Faris.
I forget now.
The other one. I know what you mean, but anyways.
We're going to look it up after and give them a big shout out because it's a great film.
Yeah, really good.
But they were going to make a TV show of it, and I was up for it. And I had auditioned or whatever, and it was looking good. And it was waiters in a restaurant. And every night before I went to bed for 6 months, I did The Secret. I visualized myself in a waitress uniform, on television. I had the whole vision board, everything. And Two Broke Girls came around, and I was a waitress on television. But now, after doing your work, I'm because The Secret never worked again for me. It worked that one time, and then. But now I realize, I was expanded.
Yeah.
I was in my worth. I knew the part was for me. I thought I could do it. And to be honest, to all the artists out there, there are going to be things that you read that you're like, wow, I really love this. And you go in, and maybe there's just some sort of disconnect. You walk into the room, and it's either you or you're not. And,
it's exactly.
And so when you feel something like Two Broke, where I walked out of my audition where I finally got to meet Whitney and Michael Patrick King, and I walked out and I called my agent and I was like, I got the job.
Yep.
And they were
I always knew
you're
when it would happen.
Out of your mind. Yeah. You did not get this job.
I love your representation.
Well, they were like, come on, you just did 3 pre-reads and then 1 read for the producers. But I felt my grandma, my grandma who had been such an incredible presence in my life. I kind of left the room, and I remember leaning up against the wall and starting to tear up and feeling you're gonna the messaging I got was you're gonna be okay.
Your ancestor. Well, that's what this month is all about: is how to work with your ancestors. And the newsletters and stuff.
Oh my God, crazy!
It's powerful.
There you go. Yeah. And so my advice to all the artists out there is follow Lacy's work with the expansion too, and believe that you have just as much right as anybody else to be here and to do this. And also, something that's been really, I guess, a shadow aspect of me is, I love comedy and I'm very good at comedy, but I also like drama. And a lot of times I feel like there's a stigma around comedy of they're not as good actresses. I have a lot to prove.
It's way fucking harder than drama. I'll tell you that right now.
It is hard.
It is harder.
But there's sort of when shows are nominated for Emmys, a lot of times it's dramedies.
Yeah.
It's not just a big balls out comedy because
you guys are 3 camera?
We're 4 camera, multi-cam.
Whoa, okay, we'll get into that later.
Yeah, but it's really interesting because I've thought about it, and over the years, it's but I love to make people laugh, and I feel like I'm here to make people laugh.
It's medicine.
And I love doing it, so why should I feel the need to have external validation of peers or awards or anything else that proves to people that I can do or be something that I'm not, and so, or not expressing at that current time. I'm sure there will be a time down the line, and I got to do a play in New York, and I got to do it, but I feel like it's you just have to own who you are and what makes you special.
Your authenticity.
Your authenticity is everything.
Yes, the more you tap into it, the more this happens.
Yes.
Wait, we have to talk about the show you've just manifested.
Yes.
Which is so wonderful. I watched the pilot last night. It came out on Monday. It's called The Neighborhood. If you haven't seen it, it's also very important in this current political climate of coming together.
Yes.
Tell us how you manifested it. Tell us how it's going. I want the whole thing.
Yes. Well, I started your Formula and Magnetism right when you started in January of this year, and Tubercles had ended, so I was waiting for, figuring out what the next thing was going to be. And on my list, the most important thing to me about my next job was I wanted to feel like I did when I was a little girl.
Oh.
I wanted to feel like I did when I was doing theater, that sense of love and community.
That's your authentic self for anybody listening, just so you know what the energy is. That's the feeling, the essence.
That essence.
Yeah.
And so I wrote this list of I wanted the basic things were that I wanted that feeling. I wanted to be around artists who had the same passion for what we do the way I did that I had in that theater community growing up, that sometimes it's hard to find in Hollywood. And I wanted the show to have social impact. Those were basically the only things. And it didn't matter if it was comedy, drama. And actually Max Greenfield, who I had worked with on a movie before, who I was a dear friend of and think he's amazing, I saw that he got this multi-camera sitcom on like Deadline or something, and I was like, "Wow, Max on a God, I would love to play his wife on something like that."
Wow,
just had that thought when I saw it, and I was like, "Wow, great for him." And then like a month later, he called me and he's like, "So I'm doing this show," and I was like, "Oh my God!" And it's like you say, if it's not like hell yes, it's definitely no. There was no.
Wow.
The showrunner Cedric the Entertainer. I went in and had a meeting with them, and it was truly like, oh, I found my people. These are my people.
You can feel it watching
I felt it.
You can.
You can feel it.
Yeah,
watching
you can feel
it?
it watching it. Yeah,
Oh,
even
good.
your guys' son for a pilot.
Hank, oh my God, he's like Daniel Day-Lewis. Who
is this kid?
He's a genius.
Yeah.
He's like a 40-year-old man in an 8-year-old's body, and he's so
He nailed
grounded
every
and
punch.
real. Yeah, he's actually
so
an
impressed.
I'm very expanded by him. He's an amazing soul.
Wow.
And I had seen a play, Marcel Spears, who plays Marty on the show, I had seen him in a play at the Geffen. And I turned to Michael, this was in the fall, and we did the pilot in the spring, and I said, somebody has to put him on a television show.
Yeah.
Like, he's a genius. He can do comedy, he can do drama, he can do everything. In this show, I was like, I'd love to work with him. That was in my head.
Look at you. Can you hang out with me? You're like a lucky charm.
This is the only time I've ever done this. I don't know how to do it really again. So this is why I have Lacy.
You're going to be fine. You're going to be fine.
But all I can say is there was just no. It felt right. And I literally wake up on the weekends and I'm sad I'm not going to work. And that is new for me.
Oh, I'm so happy.
The environment is so supportive. And, there was a lot of pressure on Two Broke Girls and a lot on our shoulders, me and Kat. And it was very hard on a two-hander.
I can imagine.
24 episodes a year. It was a lot. And a lot of times when you feel that pressure, it's really hard to do comedy.
Yeah. Because, that's your creative energy doesn't flow like we're talking about with the horses. You have to be on. You have to perform. It's hard. Masculine.
Yeah. And no matter I believed in that just as much as I believe in this. And I had the most incredible 6 years ever. But it's also like I was learning so much, navigating the skin virus, the pressure. My life changed too overnight with that show. And now I'm in a much better
You get to play
place.
now.
Yes.
That's really you get to be in your flow and play. I mean,
play.
It's serious.
Which feels like when I was a 3-year-old going up and down the stairs doing The Sound of Music or whatever, that's what it feels like again. And so I'm so grateful and no matter what happens with it, I'm just so grateful for this experience.
Totally. You're so expanded at this point too. If it's not this, which I really feel it's a great show, bring on the next.
Bring it on.
You're in your flow.
And I feel like, the social impact part, we're saying something. It's really a
tell
show
us about, it's so important.
Yeah, it's about a family from Michigan who moves into a predominantly Black neighborhood in Pasadena, South Pasadena. And it's Cedric the Entertainer and Max Greenfield and Sheena Arnold and me and this incredible group of actors who I don't even feel good enough to be around every day because they're just so wonderful.
Their family chemistry is bananas.
It's bananas.
It's so good.
It's so good. Well, they're all just such giving people. Cedric is one of the most generous, kind people I've ever met. And it was like an immediate family connection at the table read. That doesn't just happen, at least not always. And it was an instant sort of bond as a family. Exactly the feeling I wanted in the next thing that I did professionally. But yeah, it's a show that I really believe is something we need right now, because humor is actually, I think, one of the best ways to bring people together.
Absolutely.
And we do a lot where we build up tension in this show and then release, which I think is when comedy is done best.
The best.
You know?
The best. It's the climax, the payoff. It's
exactly.
the best.
Exactly.
What do we have to look forward to? Not obviously giving anything away, but for the average viewer, what do we have to get excited about for this show? Because it's a very important show to be watching.
Well, one thing I love about the show is, and in the pilot, you get to see definitely Max's character and Cedric more have their moment, but something I've loved about, we've shot about 8 episodes now, is the relationship between my character and Tina,
I'm excited
Cedric's
for
wife.
That one.
Because women, we really are the matriarchs. We bring people together, and her and I, the relationship that we have that starts playing out, it's like Lucy and Ethel meets, we call each other Salt and Peppa, but we really there's a team, we're coming together and we're going to take over the world kind of aspect for Gemma and Tina, and I'm super excited about that.
I'm so happy.
And just, it definitely deals with race, but it also more the long-term goal of the show is to deal with love and community and kindness and what it means to come together and be a good neighbor in the sense of the neighborhood, but also be a good person.
Totally. And also how important that is. And we won't get too far off on this segue, but it's so important that not only are we so disconnected from nature, connected from rhythms, we're so disconnected from community, let alone your village, your neighborhood. This is such an important show on so many levels.
Yes.
You guys, I mean, they nailed it. So please tune in. Go watch the pilot. It's on CBS. Yes. I watched it last night. I loved it.
Thank you, Lacy.
You can watch the first one for free right on CBS.
And Jim Reynolds, who created it, it's based on his real life story of him and his wife. And then Cedric came on, and Cedric's one of our executive producers. And so watching the two of them come together and work together on this show, and the conversations we're having on set during this show it's been so expansive, and I've grown so much as just a person, let alone a comedian, because I'm around such talented people. But I'm very grateful, and it's very much, I think, thanks to the work that I've done through you too. So
I hope that expands all the artists sitting out there.
I know, I feel all you guys sitting out there.
Me too, man.
And you know what? I always worry it's going to be gone.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard so many actors who are so much more talented and successful than me say, I'm always worried it's my last job, and you never know. And so, everybody out there who's worried, just own your authenticity. That is my number
expand and unblock
one.
and own your authenticity.
Own your authenticity, because that's that's what people are going to be drawn to, and that's what's going to make you different from the hundreds of other girls or men going out for these
Which
roles.
I never did when I acted. I was trying to fit in every box,
mold.
And I was so low in my worth. But you are such a testament to anybody who's tuning in. If you can get pure into that authenticity, if you can really expand, if you can unblock, you can call anything you want. That's in alignment with that. So.
And to that point too, the horses have really, because they are prey animals, and so they only respond to authenticity.
They're the purest energy when you're interacting with them.
They can sense a mountain lion from 200 yards away. And so working with them, you realize if you're fearful, because they're a huge animal, as most people are, and you try to hide that fear, they won't respond. Mm-hmm. But if you just own what's happening to you and in your body, and you're in the present and in the moment, they will want to connect with you. And then it's so empowering. It makes me emotional to even talk about, because the feeling of connecting on that most authentic, pure, in the moment, present level with this massive being is truly how SheHerdPower was born. We trademarked, Cassandra Ogier, the founder with me, trademarked somatic reprogramming.
Amazing.
Which is, basically coming out of your head and into your body, which we can only do when we're in the present in meditation.
Totally.
There's lots of things we do to get there.
But it's a conscious
this is
meditation.
Visceral. This is when you're working with the horse, you have to be present.
It's like surfing.
Safety. Yeah. Yes, exactly. And once, I started working with her, and then my sister's a survivor of rape, and once it changed my life with panic attacks, I was like, I have to bring her around horses, because traditional talk therapy is hard. Women, to go sit in a room for an hour and talk about your experience, it is helpful, of course, to some people, most people, I'm sure, but also there's a lot of people who don't want to even address that it happened. And
or respond to that kind of...
Yes, everybody's different.
The shame that's wrapped around, the pain that's wrapped around, the scare, the fear.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of the
Absolutely.
hardest things to unpack in a conversation,
Yes,
So
yes.
can you tell us anything about like how it's helped her change her
Yes.
recovery process?
Yes.
And one thing I really, really want to get into, and then we're going to get deeper into the foundation, is resources. Because I said this yesterday talking to Chloe Garcia Ponce, is that I see all of these like reshares and these things, and the conversation's so loud, it's so important, but not nobody, in my world, I'm not seeing enough resources listed for what can you do if this has happened? What tools, what is there for healing? So I want you, who literally went with your sister through this whole experience,
Yes.
what can you share about that?
Yeah. Basically, how SheHerdPower was born was I brought my sister to one of Cassandra's retreat weekends. She holds these beautiful weekends for women all over California. And I brought her to this weekend, and she connected with this horse chief in a way that nobody in the entire retreat knew that she was a survivor, but we were all sobbing because also a lot of the work with the horses is setting boundaries.
Yeah, it's one of the, I think I'm a star being who came onto earth and was like, my poor dad who wanted me
your dad.
to be like really country and Western. With horses,
they'll walk all of
I'm
me
not an
because
alpha.
I hate confrontation.
Yep.
I just want everybody to like me,
Yep.
and the horses. Oh, my mare,
They
she bullies
love
me
that.
all the time. It's their mirrors,
They totally
so they're
are.
reflecting what you need to work
Totally.
on. And my sister was very fearful of horses, and there was a big round pen that she, was standing in with this huge, beautiful paint horse named Chief.
Oh, beautiful.
And Cassandra told her, draw a circle. If you don't want him in your space, claim your boundary.
Beautiful.
And she's like, I don't want him in this space. And we're all watching, and we're kind of nervous because the horse is kind of like letting out all this energy, and it's big, and my sister is tiny. And, as a motherly sister, I was freaking out. And all of a sudden, the horse calms down, and they just locked eyes.
I'm gonna cry.
I know.
Jesus.
It's really like, and she released something and just started to cry. And he came, and she had literally drawn a circle in the sand. And he came and put both of his paws on the circle. I know. And to ask her permission. I know. I'm like shaking right now.
Oh my God.
And the entire retreat we were all sobbing, and nobody knew anything about the past or, trauma or nothing. And Cassandra said, are you ready to let him in? And Emily said, yes. And he came and put his head on her chest. And it was like, and that's how SheHerdPower was born, because from that point on, me and Emily and Cassandra were like, okay, we have to bring this to women at no cost.
Yeah.
This healing and this grounding and this coming back into your body and getting that voice back and that
and your
strength,
boundaries, the strength of energetic boundaries.
Because someone has violated that in trauma.
In the most horrific way, where you really don't, because when we have anything, and this is to any trauma, when we have anything violate complete energetic boundaries, we don't even believe it's possible to have boundaries at that point. So this is, unbelievably powerful.
And to be able to do it in a way where no words are spoken, where it's all processed within your body, to me is what is so powerful about what I feel like SheHerdPower can be on a mass level. I've always said the Me Too movement has been amazing because women are finally using their voices.
And they have a voice.
And they have a voice.
Safety.
But then I say now what?
Yeah, now what?
How are we going to support
what?
them? Because trauma is a lifelong.
Totally.
It's never going to just go away. So how are we supporting this healing? And I think there's definitely resources like this incredible organization called the Rape Foundation. I Googled, I didn't know where you take someone after a sexual assault. And this amazing woman I was working for at the time said, don't go to an emergency room. Go to this place I've heard about. Let's Google it. And it was this incredible resource for survivors who come in and they get everything, the rape kit, the police report, everything goes through them, but it's in the most comforting, there's safe, warm, it doesn't look like a hospital, it doesn't feel like a hospital, it feels like a living room. These women we call them our angels, Emily and I, we still call them our angels. So the Rape Foundation is incredible. And those are great for the, what happens right post-assault. But after that, other than traditional talk therapy, we need to have more healing.
Absolutely.
There needs to be more programs and more resources that are free of cost.
Because, I mean, it's happening. It's an epidemic, obviously, that's happening.
1 in 3 now.
Yeah. So it needs to be a resource that's accessible. There's no shame involved in reaching out. Like, it's becoming normalized to reach out for that. I know that EMDR is supposed to be incredibly effective for this.
I've heard a lot about EMDR.
It might also be very triggering of PTSD, but it could also be a resource that's not just traditional talk therapy.
Yes.
I mean, anything else that you have to share with a person who may ever find themselves in a circumstance where they're supporting someone like you did with your sister and not having tools, not knowing what to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think finding, we always say that SheHerdPower, we want it to be a herd. And we always say, like, we're welcoming to everybody to come into that herd, and we're building that space. And I feel like now with what is happening in the media, women are coming forward and using their voice, but they're being triggered because of all the pushback, which is the whole reason women don't come forward to begin with, is what's being triggered by what's happening now with Kavanaugh and the media. And I think that this time more than ever, we need to come together as women, as a herd, and we need to support each other. And I mean, social media, there's been a lot of support, I know, for women, but we were talking about this. It's like, you can post as much as possible, but what can we actually do?
Yes.
And it seems overwhelming sometimes when you think about it, but that's why SheHerdPower was born, and that's why, that I volunteer. Get resources online of a local community that helps trauma survivors.
Beautiful.
And volunteer, vote.
Okay.
And also, 1 in 3. So if you know someone, who most of us do, reach out. And being able to hold space for some people to feel safe enough to have this conversation, or safe enough to ask for help, safe enough to ask you to go with them somewhere to receive help. I mean, that's a really big part, I think, as well, that you are normal, you are fine, you did not deserve this. You have a voice.
You have a voice.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really important. So I'm quickly interrupting this episode to invite you, if you're ready to start your manifestation journey, or if anything you've heard in our manifestation episodes has piqued your interest, to begin. We have a la carte workshops in everything from the basics bundle, which is what we recommend to everyone who starts. It's the formula that actually teaches you how to manifest, unblocked inner child, and unblocked shadow. We also have a la carte workshops on love and money. But the real gem is the Pathway membership, because it encompasses every single workshop we have. It's a year-long membership with full access to the few a la carte offerings we have, and exclusive workshops not available anywhere else, such as the daily practice, which is what everybody in the Pathway uses, hopefully at least 3 times a week to daily, in order to truly create the new neural pathways that one needs in order to manifest, and houses the library of our deep imaginings, which is our unique hypnosis process that allows you to get into your subconscious and overwrite those old neural pathways, creating the new ones. You can use our special code EXPANDED, all caps, EXPANDED, to receive $20 off your first a la carte workshop purchase, or $20 off your first month of the Pathway. Again, that's all caps, EXPANDED, EXPANDED. Okay, now back to the episode. Okay, so what I want to pivot to, because I think it's so important this foundation exists on the planet. I would love to see this foundation grow and be accessible nationwide.
Me too.
Obviously internationally. How do we raise funding for this? Because that's the biggest, anybody I know that starts any type of foundation, it's expensive. Even if you're pouring all of your own resources in. Like, how do we, and anybody listening to this who wants to reach out, what's the best way to get in touch with you about this, Beth? Because we need to help you raise more awareness and funding for this.
Yes. Well, something that I love about our program is that we pay for travel. We pay for everything, basically. So it's completely cost-free, and we can offer it to women from anywhere.
Okay.
And so that costs about $30,000 for one program. We do it up in Flag Ranch on a horse rescue in Northern California. And The first program that we had, I tapped out all my friends I could, and then I put in all of my own funds, and we have been able to do it to proceed thus far through my relationships and my own funding. But at this point now, we want to expand, and we can't do it without support. And it's been very hard to raise funding. And I've had a lot of outreach. A district attorney emailed us saying, I want to send my clients here. There's nothing once they come forward and they're triggered and they have PTSD after these trials and, facing their perpetrators, and SheHerdPower seems like the thing. I finally have something I can tell my clients that they can do, but we have to raise the money. And I feel like speaking about it and coming on things like this and talking about my own personal experience, and sort of horses are, if you're not a horse person, I think it's hard to comprehend how horses can be healing. I feel like this free and native community very much will understand from this how they can. But SheHerdPower.com is our website. And right now, we really, even if you just have $1, I always ask people.
So we just can go on and donate right onto the site.
SheHerdPower.com. We're a 501c3, so it's tax deductible. And share the message. If you don't have the funds, I'm a firm believer in we're creating a herd. And if everybody is welcome in this herd.
Repost this,
Yes.
Because this is something actionable.
Yes.
And can we also sponsor if we want to do that?
You could absolutely do that. I mean, we don't have a specific sponsorship set up yet, like for one girl. We usually do 6 women in a program.
Right.
So we're definitely open to that. That is something we're trying right now to get one person to sponsor just the next program, which would be $25,000 to $30,000. Cool. But beyond that, $1 helps.
Wow.
So, and reposting, sharing. We're speaking a lot about it. I've been so lucky and fortunate to have this platform from acting, and I feel like the more I speak about it, and especially with what's happening right now in our country, it's an issue that, 12 years ago when I was at Children of the Night, or 10 years ago, nobody was talking about this. And it's actually very powerful that women are coming forward right now. And we should feel proud and we should feel expanded. And we should feel like, what's next? Let's do this. Let's find our next step as a herd.
Amazing. One thing that we are launching, we have like preliminary partnerships happening right now that we're launching in November, is called Change a Community Partnership. And so it's basically where we're offering free access to shelters, incarcerated, anything possible. But that's also something, if ever you have anybody that's a part of this program that you guys that wants access, we're here to just like...
Incredible.
Some things can be triggering, like, shadow and things like that. But anything we want to partner to. And if you have the next one you lead, just to give the free access to anybody who's interested, we'd love to do that.
That would be amazing.
And then we have to think about concepts for raising money, because this is so important.
And traditional fundraising has been difficult in the equine therapy field. There's some science starting to emerge about actual, blood composition when you're around horses, or we share a similar limbic system.
Cortisol levels. I mean, if you look at anything, the way your brain's shaping, like the neuroplasticity that's happening.
And anybody, like I'm sure your dad would be like, oh, of course, anybody who's ever been around horses or grown up or has had any sort of connection at all with horses understands how healing they are. And I think also the nature, being out our weekends, it's 2.5 full days, and you're out in 90 acres with 100 horses, rescue horses all around you. And I think that the nature part is almost just as healing as the horse part, which everybody can relate to that's listening to this, I know.
Totally. Tell us about the rescue component, because I saw that on your feed.
Yes. Well, it's interesting. The sort of horse philosophy I've learned from Cassandra Ogier is non-traditional horsemanship. We use the horse as partner. We don't ride, and it's all on the ground, and they only connect if they want to, which is extremely powerful. So there's no tack, there's no bit. And I rescued a horse of my own years ago once I started working with Cassandra, and I learned bareback and bitless riding.
Yes,
so
that's what I grew up on.
Completely free of force. Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's so rare. It
always felt safer than the traditional Western riding.
That's what I said, because if you have a genuine connection with the horse,
you're safe.
You're safe.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing is, I have friends, this amazing woman, Mosey Truitt, who teaches liberty horsemanship, and she's been going out in the wild and actually observing horses in the herd, which horses' herd mentality is very, what'd you say?
Before being broken?
Wild Mustang. things.
There it's a whole, it's a pack.
But their herd mentality is very similar to human structure.
Totally.
There's a lot of similarities between us, which is why they're such a beautiful mirror to us. But when you're not power versus force, right? It's something I always say. Yeah. And SheHerdPower. What'd you say?
It's a really good book,
yeah. But it's like, because we're not forcing them to connect or forcing them in any way to be a part of it, when they do connect out of their own
it's so deep and beautiful
accord, it's incredible.
And equally as important parallel for a survivor.
Yes,
I love it. Oh, so if anybody can support, even if it's $1, if you're looking for a charity this holiday season, I know when that gets really big in the holidays, like sponsorship, anything. And then,
or if you have anything out there where me and my sister could come speak, or Cassandra, and we can spread sort of the word, because I felt like the more personal we get about telling the story behind the foundation, and even hearing from some of our survivors that have come to the program. One of our survivors is a National Geographic Woman of the Year, and she started the first Afghanistan women's cycling team. Her name's Shannon Gelpin.
Wow.
Just being in her presence
Talk about an expander.
Incredible, and I know that SheHerdPower has been a big part of her life too. So even opportunities for us to come speak about the program and hear from our alumni, just spreading the message. And I'm just, maybe it's Pollyanna of me, but I'm a firm believer in just our herd of women coming together and supporting each other.
Also such a parallel to your neighbor. Like the neighbor.
It all full circle. Right back.
It all makes sense right now.
It all makes sense right now.
It's really important and really beautiful.
Yes.
Okay, so going in, now let's go deep again.
Okay.
Biggest shadow aspect of yourself you've had to integrate to come into your worth more.
Yeah. How you think the world sees you as one thing, and in your heart you feel like you have more to give.
Can anybody relate to that? I feel like everyone
hopefully. Outside validation not being what completes me artistically, especially, just because I find so much love and joy in what I do every day, and that's enough. And not needing more than that, and being so grateful that I get to do it every day.
That's what's going to bring you more.
That's the 1,000%. What is it's like the generator thing,
it's the generator.
I was telling Lacy that my whole life I've been so type A. I'm so scared of failure. I never got a B. The only B I ever got was in acting class at UCLA.
I love
that. My whole life, academic career in acting. So everybody out there, it doesn't matter if you get a B or C in acting class.
No grades.
Yep.
That's another thing I'm really...
I know.
Conspiracy.
I know. What are we going to do with our children? I'm like, how can I raise them to like...
They're going to be too weird in Waldorf if I have them like until 12. Like,
I know.
We always talk, we're actually going to have Lila's aunt on, who's one of the biggest leaders in the Rye parenting kind of movement, because Lila's a Rye baby. She was a Rye kid.
Of course Lila is.
I know.
By the way, I totally geeked out about meeting Lila. I'm like, oh my God, it's Lila. It's Lila.
Oh, I love that. So we're going to try to start bringing people on, because we don't, what do you do? I don't know. Because all
like
kids are so authentic.
To go into that next parenting chapter. After doing your work, I'm like, okay, let me heal myself, and then let me...
That's the beauty. I always say we're going to fuck them all up no matter what we do. So you just have to like let their little authenticity bloom and let that be beautiful.
Yes, definitely.
But sorry, go ahead. So your shadow.
That and just that fear of failure. And I think, one of the things I found with your work too is that it's deeper than it's like a fear of abandonment, like you're not enough and you're going to get left behind is big for me. I guess the deepest root of that is not being enough, that abandonment. Yeah.
Totally, not being enough. Biggest rock bottom, on the floor crying, I'm the worst, lowest moment of my life.
Yeah, definitely when that skin virus, when we couldn't figure out what was wrong. Also, my then boyfriend at the time had gotten a job in Charleston 7 months out of the year, and he was away, and I was working full-time on Two Broke Girls, and so I lost like my partner to not lost, but he was just not there every day as that support. And he's such a beautiful soul, and I love him so much, and he sees the real me more than anybody, and I'm so lucky to have him. And so he was out of town for the first time. It was early in our relationship too, maybe like 2 years in or 3 years in, and just not knowing what was wrong with me, getting my dream, which was a big acting role, and being so terrified of failure. Like, I just shaked every day, because I also had such respect for Michael Patrick King and Whitney Cummings. I just wanted to do good work, like, but on like an overworking way. I
say it's the dog paddle.
Dog paddle. I always felt there was no flow.
No. Yeah.
And I tend to do it. I was like, but that's my process as an actor. I overwork, and that's why I'm good. And then I went to therapy and he was like, no.
Yeah. That's called perfectionism.
Yeah,
but
he's
whatever,
like, you're a
whatever.
perfectionist. That's it. And then I did your work and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm enough, right? I'm enough.
Which is like a lifelong journey as well.
Which is like never,
you know,
But it's how, I mean, I've grown a lot. Thank you, because it has really helped the perfectionist aspect. But that's definitely my shadow, and just being so scared to fail. But as an artist, if you're scared of failure, you have to have failure to open, there's no space then for the art to come through if there's not failure. And that I didn't realize until recently.
I like to say this the most, like rock bottoms in any capacity. I love them, especially when it comes to money, love, and your career.
Yes.
Because they give you a threshold. Once you reach your biggest, like, oh shit, what if that happened? Then you're free. You're like, oh, I can only go up from here.
Right.
And now I know how much space I have to play with when it comes to tests and saying no.
Yes.
Like it gives you the space. It's exactly what that is.
That's a really hard one
so
for me.
hard. Yeah, especially when I'm a perfectionist as well. So any type of
and
that.
you want to please everybody. And I don't ever want to have someone mad at me or for it, like to miss an opportunity. So scared of like, well, if I don't do this, will another opportunity come in, which I'm learning to trust through you.
It's true. And you're going to be just fine. It sounds like you're
Thanks,
flowing. Like, mark my words.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and then tell us, for the people out there seeking love, about how you manifested your partner and that sort, because you just got married.
We just got married in July, but it's been 8.5, almost 9 years actually now. I was very young. At the time when I met him, I wasn't like, I think I actually said to a friend, yeah, I'm dating him. I'm not going to marry him. Like literally made that comment. Because we met, I was at UCLA still. We actually met 3 years before we ended up dating. I had a friend who was a costume PA on Mad Men and took me to a party the first season of Mad Men where like they hadn't even been on the air yet. And everybody was like, hi, I'm John Hamm. Hi. You're like, oh, wow. And I met him at a party and actually connected with his sister.
Oh, wow.
We had a beautiful conversation. She took a photograph of me, which cut to the wedding. We found the photograph and she officiated our wedding and she's the best human ever.
Wow.
And met him and he then had a long running joke with my friend for 3 years. Like, hey, how's that friend of yours, Beth? You know, like in the costume when he would have his fittings for Mad Men. But I didn't think anything of it. And then 3 years later, that same sort of Mad Men group was going to see a Casablanca at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery.
Oh, my favorite.
And he was there with another girl.
Great,
and
what's she up to now?
Yeah, she's actually still his really good friend.
Oh, good.
And we connected, and we connected over our love of old country music, like Johnny Cash.
Oh my God, George Jones, Patsy Cline, all the things. Oh God.
And he was like, I play music, or I play guitar and you sing, come over, we'll like start a band. He says he didn't say that he was going to start a band. He says, you just made that up, that we were going to start a band. And I'm like, you did say that. And he's like, well, I was just trying to make out with you.
Yeah,
you did. Okay. Yeah. And I went over there and it was like the best night ever. Aww. And as I was leaving, we kissed. And I remember being like, that was weird.
Yeah.
Like I didn't see that coming. And we've been together ever since.
So he was one of your expanders as well as an actor.
Yeah.
Hugely.
He was on stage at the Emmys and I was waitressing. I mean, he had everything that I dreamed. And he's such an incredible artist and human, and he'll be an incredible dad someday too. And I'm very lucky, but it's hard out here, you know, like I've seen my friends, finally everybody's kind of found their person, but if you're out there in LA struggling, it can happen.
Or New York is a big one, man.
Yeah, anywhere, right? Yeah. I missed the whole online dating. Like they didn't have that.
Well, now Kate and Lila tell me like it's really popular for the person to ask for your handle instead of your number anymore.
Wait, for real?
Yeah.
I missed that whole thing.
Jeez.
Really?
But, yeah. I know. I keep hearing the new, like the technological advances in dating, and I'm like, it's all good. I mean,
people have met their
totally.
partner
I have
so
many clients who have met their marriage potential, may it be male, female, whatever, online dating. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Totally.
I mean, yeah, it's a big city, and you know, connection is hard in general, and even worse nowadays. So I feel for you girls out there. You're gonna find it. It's gonna be great. Yeah. Lila, aren't you like, you got a famous boyfriend? I can help you with that.
She's on her way.
I'm gonna find you a famous boyfriend,
Lila. No, you have to. We're getting expanders.
Come to a tape night.
She's very close to manifesting this.
I was just listening to your new video.
Yes, it's supportive. You shared it. Yes, it's so. She's like in her magic dark. I can't wait to see. Just as a fun example of what comes through.
I dated a lot of the famous people before Michael. Oh, you did too.
Oh God. And I was so young and I was out dating.
I was like 18 at UCLA. I was like going to bars underage. And
same. I had the
now
fake
I'm
ID.
like, you couldn't pay me to go out.
Not
like,
a chance.
I just wanted to stay home.
I'm at 30, like with red glasses. I'm kidding.
I know.
Yeah. But that's the first thing I told Lila. I was like, throw a rock in LA, you'll date a famous person.
Well, I mean, and if you're an actor like we were, that's all you're around anyway. So it's, you don't have many options.
Yeah.
It's like, or musician or something. But great.
What do you have to say in the relationship realm that can be very expanding? Like things that make it work for almost 9 years now, or I think it's been 9 years.
Yeah, communication.
Huge.
I cannot go to bed if something's not resolved. And he's much more like, we'll just do it in the morning. Like, no, I don't want to deal. And I'm like, no, we have to deal.
Yeah. You're like, I won't sleep all night.
I won't.
I'll just I'm the same.
And he loves that because he's like, you force me to like, we get it out. Communication also I don't know if you feel like this with your fiance, but that they're your person.
Yeah.
Like, I have no doubt in my mind that he's with me.
What's his sun sign?
He's Virgo.
Oh, so you guys are perfect. Yeah.
Are we?
Yeah.
I don't know much
sun.
about.
It's just sun. I don't know the rest, but I was gonna say because you're so earthy, like you guys are so committed. I have a Virgo too, and I love Virgos so much. Kate's a Virgo too.
Really?
Yeah, and you guys are both Capricorns, but
you're a Capricorn too.
Yeah. Yes. I think Virgos are just so special.
Awesome.
So you guys, you have your strengths and weaknesses, and you have to communicate them out and mirror each other.
Yes. Yeah. And also just like making sure you like take time to connect. Like we've been trying, it's hard when you're busy and you're wanting to be on social media or watch the news or whatever, and your life gets busy, but just taking those moments where even if it's just having dinner and sitting down and connecting, I think is like, seems simple, but it gets, especially after, 8.5 years, you have to really like make time to connect. And when you do, it's like the butterflies come back. And
isn't it special how that can come out of nowhere where you're like, wow, I see you kind of like I did then. I mean, it's possible. It's very possible.
And then when you get married too, I feel like the wedding itself was like,
a whole new,
like mind blown. Because I was like, what's going to change? We've been living together forever.
Everyone I know says
I was like, I never wanted to get married.
Yeah.
I wasn't like someone who always like dreamt of a wedding or wanted to, and same with him. And then now that we did, I'm like, it's awesome.
It's a whole different feeling.
It's a whole different feeling.
Yeah.
Different and also not but that moment of the ceremony of marriage to me was like the best moment of my life. Like it was truly like so beautiful. And I think it was like a rite of passage too. I feel like I learned a lot. You learn a lot planning a wedding.
I bet all your shit comes out. Your shadows.
Every shadow comes up. But then on the day and on the weekend, like I was like saying the other day, I was like talking about this for something, a press event. And I was like, I felt like the wedding was my Xanax. Because like I'm usually so high stress, but for some reason the wedding weekend, I was like, this is the best weekend ever. I was so chill, no panic.
Wow.
The most like authentic flow. There were all these animals. I heard a buffalo cross in the national park. We were taking photos. I was like, can I just get married every month? I'd be such a better person. but no, you can't. It happens hopefully once.
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
It was so great. And I'm very lucky. But it's out there, guys.
It is. Tell us about, do you do bees still? Do you rescue?
We do. He's a beekeeper.
Wow.
And he was in Silver Lake in his backyard, like when we were first dating, had bees. So he's had bees as long as I've known him. I was very scared about it because we have friends with kids. And I was like, I don't know about hives. And now we have 50,000 bees in our backyard.
Wow. So how, because I want to have bees on the property. I'm going to have a keeper keep them on the property.
If you need a recommendation, we have the most incredible mentor. Her name's Ruth.
Okay.
I actually just did something on the digital Ellen tube with her. If you want to see
I want to
Ruth,
watch it.
Yeah, it's the best. She really, if we didn't have her, we wouldn't know what we were doing.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important, don't just like get bees without a mentor because they're obviously dying and we all, if everybody became a backyard beekeeper, that'd be great, but we all need some guidance.
Totally.
Because it's you have to make sure they're not getting sick. You have to make sure if you're extracting honey that you leave them. Yeah, I mean, you can't. We are very hippie about the bees and we like to keep it as natural and flowing as possible for them without there being a lot of invasiveness. So
awesome.
But this amazing woman, Ruth, at Hive Tribe Bees, Hive Tribe Bees out there, she's the best.
Okay,
if you're
looking. Remember that.
I'll send it to you.
Because I'm like, that's
But it's beautiful, and our wedding gift was honey. It's nice to be able to give something to people as a present or just like And now I'm feeling like such a fucking asshole because I didn't bring any of you guys honey.
No, I love it.
Wow.
No, we're all thinking in our heads right now, but no.
By the way, I'm coming back. I'm going to give you all honey. But it is like it's a nice thing, and it just feels like it's a part of our home. Like I have it in my tea every morning. And,
oh my gosh.
It's beautiful.
And how
animals.
beautiful you guys are working together, you and the bees.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that.
Same kind of thing as horses too. When you're around them all sort of swarming, there's like, they also respond to fear.
Totally.
So the more, it's weirdly calming when they're all around you.
Yeah.
Like the sound, and you feel completely connected to your body. And
wow.
It's awesome. You should definitely do it.
Your biggest tip or the practice you do to get back into your worth when you feel out of your worth?
Your TI is like staple.
Oh, good.
And transcendental meditation really helped me. But also, I mean, after listening to your expanded podcast with other healers and everybody talking about nature, I have made, and even you, when you're talking about being outside and letting the sun hit without sunscreen and all of those like just natural healing things that don't cost a dime that we can all do every day, I've really tried to create space for that in my life, and I've noticed a massive difference.
Same.
And it does mean you have to say no. It does mean you have to say no to things and
yes
prioritize it. But when you do, it's amazing.
What have been some of the shifts you've seen? I mean, for me, it's crazy. Like skin, hair, nails, inside, insulin.
Mine's like is all internal.
Okay.
I feel like just that pressure, that anxiety that I need to go to my next thing and my next thing and check this box, check that box is completely gone, and I'm just can be.
Yeah, that's the best part.
Yeah.
The present, being present.
But I have to do I do it mostly with seeing my own horse and spending as much time in nature because I'm in a studio. So vitamin D, I'm in a studio all day, every day.
Those lights
so on the
all day.
weekends, I'm like, I literally just go up to the mountains and like be with the horses and do that. And for me, that's also church. I call it church. I'm like,
and you do bareback with them when you're up there? Oh my gosh, how special.
Yeah.
Oh.
I highly recommend, if you can, rescuing your own horse too. Because she's my greatest teacher.
I bet.
Truly. And talk about boundaries. And I mean, she is feisty and she tests me, and I really have to come into my worth and my power and my strength in order to like not let her walk all over me and not in a forceful way.
No, it's
in
all
a communication, energetic way.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're the most energetic because of their limbic system. I mean,
totally. It's limbic to limbic. That's all that's happening. I'm so curious too, how do you see that shifting the way you show up in the world? Like, do you see a total shift in your energetic projection after having worked for so many years with your horse and through this foundation?
Yes, and I've also seen a huge artistic shift.
Okay.
I feel like it expanded me I accomplished things as an actress that I never thought I could. Like, there was a play I did in New York that intimidated me because I had never done drama 8 times a week and had to, be in that dark space, living in that every day and perform it
and the
without
pressure
a take
of New
two.
York theater.
And I feel like without the horses, I could have never even been open enough to drop into that space that I needed to get to as an artist in that dark place safely to do that play every night without the horses. Yeah. So for sure, artistically, any artists out there, I felt a massive shift in that space. And then just personally, I literally equate it to, I don't, knock on wood, but I'm getting a panic attack right now. Yeah. No, but I don't really get, and I'm talking about, I got panic attacks to the point where I couldn't breathe. Yeah. Like I literally, it was not.
I think they call them in stages, right? That's like a high level stage.
Yes. Yeah. And I would get them pretty frequently.
Jeez, man.
And now I haven't had one of those where debilitating, in years.
Wow. I love that.
I hate saying it because you're always like, but it's okay if one comes back. But.
Yeah. It's kind of like, it's not the same thing at all to equate, but it is similar to people who are always fearful of the trigger onset of their seizures, breaking out at any time, that kind of thing. There was probably points where you're like, how do I leave the house? This could come at any moment.
Yeah. That's the whole rock bottom when you're on the ground and the skin virus. I remember being so embarrassed because they had to cover my leg. I had a full on, we had to figure out how to cover it.
Yeah.
I learned so much from that rock bottom.
Was it a good vanity? Just slit through your vanity for you a little bit?
Yeah,
too?
Definitely. I've been a naturally looks I don't really care about for some reason my whole life.
That's very lucky.
I am as an actor.
Wow.
You're like, what? But for me, that was a moment where it was on camera. So I had to cover it up. There was no way to not do that.
Wow, I love that. The other big thing that I really wanted to ask was, for you, where you're headed, where you see your life going in true authenticity. I'm starting to ask this question now. When you really look into what do I want out of the next 10 years, 15 years, the core essence, what is that for you to help us expand as well?
Yeah. The word that keeps coming to mind is light. And whether that's in the artistic space or in the, empowering women's space, I just want to be a warm light.
Oh, I love that.
And I feel like that is all I could, that's really, I feel like when I do the DIs and when I'm doing the work that I've learned from you, that's always the magnetic, that's where it sits for me, is in this like wanting to give warmth and light and guidance and laughter and
I love it.
I hope to do more things as an artist, but also as an activist and keep living in that
Amazing.
light.
Oh, we're so grateful you came on today.
Thank you.
We're so
I hope it was
grateful.
okay. I'm like, oh
no,
my gosh.
you're amazing.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure everybody out here feels really expanded.
I'm like, I'm sorry I can't heal you and help in that way, but hopefully it's expand.
I do want to ask one last question, because this will be expansive for anybody tuning in. You have such an extensive schedule. You're constantly out doing media and promotion. You're also hustling to get this foundation really flowing and flowing. What do you do to stay in balance? I know there's TM that you're doing, which is so huge. And you obviously have these tools, but on a physical level of eating, working out, nature, like just give us your things that bring you back down to
what you were
the
saying
earth.
Before about only responding to things that light you up or only focusing on that. For me, exercise, because being an actor, there's obviously the media stigma of like, you have to be in shape and you have to be a certain way. And I don't love Pilates or yoga. I just don't. But that's, traditionally long and lean. And those are the ways to get it. But I just stop because I don't like it. And I love to lift weights and run.
Me too.
Yeah.
That's my thing.
So just listening and responding to what lights you up.
Totally. I love that.
In all regards, with exercise, with food, we were talking about it. I've definitely gotten healthier. The Total Meat Talks kind of talks about my journey because I really am picky and I like junk food and I'm a foodie. I like to go out to dinner and, but I feel like the more that you listen to your body and you think you want a big bowl of mac and cheese, when you really listen, it's like, actually, I don't. I'm going to make this really clean smoothie. And it's okay. And then some days I do want the mac and cheese.
Totally.
And I eat it.
And even today I was driving down Sunset and I was like, it was something like I needed carbs. I needed something really heavy like that. And for me, I'm starting to even get so much more tapped in where I'm like, because I listen, it's like Russian roulette. I'm like, am I craving that? No. Am I craving that? No. This, that, because we've been so busy this week. And while I was driving, I was like, oh, I'm wanting something really dense to ground me. It wasn't emotional to feel an emotional thing, but I'm so airy. You might feel that way too, like airy, light. And I'm like, oh, my body is tired and it needs an anchor right now. So like once you start to really tune in to those yes and no's, then it's like, what's the healthiest version of that with the nutrients it's asking for? Intuitive eating.
Yes.
And intuitive living. Literally, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no.
It's a no.
It's a no.
Yeah.
We even just started this. We're like, why do we still post to Facebook and Twitter? It's so silly. But we're like, we don't want to do that.
It's all about Instagram,
so we're stopping.
Guys.
Like, you just stop doing whatever isn't authentically your thing.
And even like I'll be like, I used to take meetings all the time on my space time off, or I'd be on to the next project, on to the next thing, instead of just living in the moment and enjoying what I have. And I feel like, if I want to go take a elderberry syrup making class instead of like working on a screenplay, like sometimes you got to go do.
You have to do that, which is really easy and fun.
Really?
I love that.
I really want to learn.
It's very simple. We should do it sometime. When you have your next gathering, we'll make some for everybody to take home. Yeah.
Yes.
But here's an expander too. This girl is on a show. You have a foundation. You're so busy. And she hosts an Unblocked Village.
We just started because I've been telling everybody about Lacy. And then, so I kind of brought in the girls I'd already told, but then through Lacy's community, just on Instagram.
Awesome.
I've met people and we all connected the other day. And it was really, speaking of a herd of women coming together, so much, we talked about the work, but then also just stuff about connecting in society, who we are as women. We got like super deep too, and it was really cool. I want to do it again.
We're craving that as humans.
Yeah, we
are craving that on such a deep connection. The neighborhood.
Guys, the neighborhood, 8 p.m. CBS Monday nights.
All right. Well,
your listeners are going to be like, oh my God.
Not a chance, man. I'm so expanded by you today. I'm so grateful
Lacy.
you came.
You guys are the best. I'm like totally nerding out about meeting all of you. you. It's awesome.
No, we are for you. And we're so grateful because every way you're showing up in the world right now is through exactly what you're craving. It's light. You're showing up in a really important show that's with humor, the medicine of humor. You're showing up in this foundation, even though you're personally not a survivor, but you're close with your sister. Yes. You're doing that. You're rescuing. I mean, you're doing it. And so you are such an expander. You're so important. And I'm so grateful you're here.
Lacy, that's so nice. Can I stay?
Bye,
Mom,
guys.
can I
we'll have a
live
slumber
here?
party, make elderberry syrup.
Yes, please.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning into the episode, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, we did. And in case you're not totally ready to join the pathway yet, I wanted to share a few of our free offerings that I'll often suggest to people as a little bit of a blueprint to get them started on their manifestation journey. The first place I like to direct people completely for free is the motivation. You can see it linked below or on our homepage as our testimony library. And it's categorized by different subjects, whether you're calling in career, money, love, wellness, and much more. When you're reading about a member's experience of what they manifested, you're actually seeing to believe and showing your subconscious that that very thing is possible for you. The second place I like to direct people is to the free clarity exercise, which is also linked below. In it, you get to try our own unique hypnosis process, learn about the science, and some journaling prompts. And the best part about this, you'll get a tiny taste of what it's like to go into your hypnotic state, bring your subconscious forward, and create new neural pathways while receiving clarity. And the third thing, if you haven't listened to it on this podcast yet, please go back to the episode titled Manifestation 101, where you'll learn the basics of neural manifestation to truly understand this process. So go ahead and check out those free resources, the motivation, the free clarity exercise, and the episode Manifestation 101, all linked below. And in an effort to make sure to have representation in this process series, go ahead and submit any process testimonials you have, especially to our LGBTQ+ community, our BIPOC, as well as the Ys, which is anyone in the community who is 45 and over. All right, we'll be back next week.